Former me February 28/2021 22:41 Since I can't fall asleep, then let me talk about myself. As for me, I guess I wasn't satisfied with my life before vocational school, speaking from the perspective of the past. Back then, my grades were pretty bad. A solid underachiever, very insecure, because at that time there was only grades. If your grades were bad, then everything was bad. I just felt like I was a bad student, cared about it a lot. Even when making friends, I would think about whether the other person's grades were especially good. I often talked about how bad my grades were, even wrote about it in essays, saying my grades were bad, that I was a poor student, and so on. So I was quite afraid of people with very good grades, scared to communicate with them, rather timid. This was the case in middle school, and even more so in elementary school. Also because of my personality and family reasons, my interactions with classmates and friends were very, very limited outside of school. Elementary school was a bit better, still very innocent, had a few friends, would go home together after school by bus, play together at school, but once leaving school, it was almost just me alone. The younger I was, the more friends I had. By 5th and 6th grade, it really became just me alone. I still remember the day in 6th grade when I went back to get exam results. Clearly, it was the day everyone separated, going to middle school, each going their own way. But at that time, I didn't have that awareness. The only memory seed was walking alone on the playground, thinking in my heart, is it over-graduated? There was only a strange tiny bit of melancholy, because I was extremely innocent back then. Didn't know what this meant, didn't think about what graduation was, or the deeper meaning it represented. I just felt it was sudden. Everything changed, and I was going to middle school. Up to now, I still haven't gone back to take another look at my alma mater. After just entering middle school for a period of time, even a long time compared with elementary school, I didn't actually change much. I was still that kind of childlike innocence, but it was already starting to not fit anymore. Many things I was overly shy about, and the fear of teachers successfully carried over from elementary school to middle school. Seeing teachers, if they didn't see me, even if a teacher was downstairs, I'd feel like running back to the classroom. Being called out by a teacher was truly terrifying. Being called meant basically finished. And when facing girls, I would very easily get shy blush. My face would feel hot. I could feel it very clearly myself. This seems like something I still have now, with no chance to change it. Socially, I did have a few good friends, but because I was quite solitary, plus some family reasons, in the end there were only 2 or 3 fairly close ones. I usually only talked to my deskmate and the people around me, front, back, left, right. Once the deskmate changed seats, if there was no reason to look for me, then there was no interaction outside of school time. It was just gaming at home. LOL, Crossfire, Minecraft, Mini World, Spore, GTA, Ark, etc. Most of the games I play now are ones I knew back in middle school. At that time, I could only use Quaiba to download pirated versions. Anyway, it was just being alone. At this time, I started to have an extra layer of fear compared to socializing was too scary for me. I was very insecure. My family also managed me quite strictly. School, home, 3 years passed like that. A lot of things were bottled up inside, very depressed. Why was it always me when parents were called? Why was it always me with bad luck getting caught? Why didn't I have allowance? All of this was kept inside, never shared with anyone. Back then, there was also a lot of homework. The happiest time every day was when going to sleep. So I used to really enjoy the feeling of waking up in the middle of sleep and then falling asleep again, because in one night I could sleep many times, instead of just once. At that time, days felt like years. Every day I thought, hurry up weekend. Hurry up weekend. Why isn't it the weekend yet? But at least from today's perspective, there were benefits. That is, I kept myself, didn't change much. Middle school, elementary school, kindergarten all connected together. Also, often being alone with myself laid the groundwork for later. Later, graduating from middle school and all the previous unhappiness, dissatisfaction, loneliness, insecurity, social difficulties, low mood, etc., were almost all resolved within a very short period of time. It was truly unbelievable. It was also the first time I felt this kind of feeling, truly wanting nothing. Suddenly, it felt like I had everything. The contrast with having nothing in middle school hit me all at once. I started to change, started to care about myself, care about my face and appearance, personality, started to become confident. Of course, change came in stages. Some of the later, more advanced ones still relied on others to change. When I first arrived at vocational school, they had already gone to military training, and I had just arrived. I was alone in the dorm. For someone like me, who doesn't communicate with others, it was especially awkward. I didn't know how to face my roommates, felt quite scared. Later, when they came back from training, I greeted them first. Then, one of them, who was quite enthusiastic, started chatting with me, saying things like telling me not to go to training, secretly stay, and so on. It eased the atmosphere. I stopped being so nervous. Listening to them, I skipped another day of training and only went on the second day. Later, the few of us in the dorm trained together, ate together, especially the chatting. It was very effective in promoting emotional connection. The chatting was very lively. You say one sentence, I say one, he says one. The atmosphere, in my view, was quite good. It was also the first time I had this kind of feeling. At that time, I didn't feel that I was capable, because when you are in the process of changing as someone inside it, at that time, I didn't even have a phone. Normally, I could only space out, trim my fingernails. They all had phones, played games together, PUBG Mobile, and Faye. I don't even know how I got through that time. Thinking about it now, it's extremely awkward. One roommate had two phones and lent me one. At that time, I knew nothing about data. What does it mean? How many megabytes is EG? How many megabytes is EMB? What is KB? Is B bigger or KB bigger? At that time, I always asked them for hotspot, downloaded single-gen player games myself, played Soul Night together. After military training, about a week of classes, I went home. My dad brought me to school. The trip was quite tough because I had only been there once. This time was the first time returning. That day on the bus, I got my first phone in my life, an Oppo A-Fa. I was so excited. Okay, a phone. I finally had my own phone. This was extremely precious to me. The first thing I downloaded was Soul Night. Then, because of middle school, it became freer, more relaxed. They treated me as a more independent adult with autonomy. There were no constraints like in middle school and elementary school. If you ask me to go back to middle school or elementary school now, I'd probably feel very uncomfortable. So this is probably why I had the feeling of a brand new life. Everything changed. It was also at this time that I changed my hairstyle before. It was always a buzz cut. Before, I was extremely insecure about my grades, my appearance, and my possessions. I had nothing. Now they agreed to let me grow my hair. It was my first time having bangs. That most ordinary bangs was my first hairstyle. I was really satisfied. Later, my hair grew a bit longer. Looking at myself in the mirror, I would always admire myself a bit. Looking and looking, the confidence in my appearance showed up. Of course, that was later, after having a phone. Going back to school was pure happiness. Finally, I could play PUBG together with them. Finally, the six of us in the dorm could finally, I didn't need others to turn on hotspot for me. This period was when I let myself fly free. The changes were also extremely rapid during this time. I developed my own way of communicating with others. I experienced the joy of integrating into a group for the first time. I gained a blind, unparalleled confidence. During this upward journey, it seems I encountered one event that was quite important. A turning point. I was playing games with one roommate. Another roommate was on the bed chatting with his girlfriend. We were playing downstairs and were quite noisy. He told us to be quieter, but we didn't hear him, so he got angry. He was tall and well-dimmed. We argued with him. Anyway, it was like him saying, "Do you think you're awesome? Want to fight?" That kind of meaning. I used to fight a lot. I wasn't scared. Fight then fight. In a normal fight, I obviously couldn't beat him. He was tall and worked out, but my momentum didn't back down. He said things like, "Do you think having a phone makes you awesome now? If I kill someone, my family can..." He even threatened me with scissors. Later, someone came to stop the fight, echoing things like the phone only costs 1 or 2,000. Keep a low profile. Don't be so arrogant. That kind of society person educating others tone. I just cried out of nowhere. It really was that kind of out of nowhere. Not because I was scared, not because I was wrong. It was just after fighting and venting emotions. I cried. I just felt it was inexplicable. What does this have to do with phones? It hit me quite deeply. Looking back later, this was a good thing, really very coincidental. It stopped my excessive inflation in time and corrected the me that had started to twist. It's 0点18分. I'll continue tomorrow.